So I just had a little thing for a cold open idea.
Mm-hmm.
It's something I've watched before, but I know since I have another fan here, maybe I can finally convince you to watch it, Nick.
Oh
Uh,
boy, here we go.
um,
If you're playing along at home, is it the Batman or is it what other thing?
okay, it's not one that we've hounded on you as much
Okay,
about.
okay.
But I just rewatched for like the third time The Terror,
Oh
and
God.
it is I don't know, that is like a 9 or 10 out of 10 show for me.
Yes.
It is so fucking good.
Like slow
Um
burn, great atmosphere, great
mhm.
characters, and they're
It's
distinct despite the fact that they're all in uniform.
yeah, yeah. It's literally one of like in all of like movies, TV, it's one of the best, if not like the best like
Oh, okay.
use of atmosphere as far as like showing the paranoia, the
hmm
cold,
The
the
isolation.
like the isolation. It
Mm-hmm.
hits all of these beats to make you like feel and like get their desperation and the sheer horror that these guys are like going through.
Yeah.
It is fucking perfect. It's
Espe-
like
Especially because they address it themselves. There's even part where like the higher up officers are talking about how important morale is to the crew and how they need to like basically like put on a cheery face. Like they can't
mhm
like acknowledge their circumstances and how dire it actually is.
mhm
Is
and
this a show that you've recommended to me before? This
yeah
Yes.
as I look it up, it's definitely familiar. Reading the premise of it.
yeah
Is it on AMC Plus?
it is an AMC
Yes.
show. I watched it on Hulu.
Oh,
uh
okay,
Yeah,
okay.
I watched it on AMC as it was coming out, and then I bought the Blu-ray when I could because I was like, I love this. I'm gonna watch it, but I'm not gonna pay for a streaming service.
I definitely want to
Physical
get the
media
Blu-ray.
endorsed. Okay.
Yeah,
Oh
I
yeah,
definitely want to for that show. Yeah.
I'm a big proponent of physical media. Let's put that out there. My
Yeah.
girlfriend was giving me
Yeah, look at
shit
my
for yeah,
decades of
Oh yeah.
old Nintendo cartridges and
because I
games and
bought The
shit.
Emperor's New Groove on Blu-ray as well. She's like, we have Disney Plus, and I was like, yeah, but now I have it physically, so no matter what, I'll have it.
They
Still.
can't take it away
I
from you.
I could have watched The Descent on Tubi, but I saw it at a thrift store, so I bought it. I bought a
Oh,
copy of
that's
it.
how I watched it on Tubi.
Oh, I
Yeah.
didn't know that was on Tubi. I just
Yeah.
Yeah,
have
they
it.
both were. This is a Tubi
Huh.
double feature.
Yeah.
A Tubi
Oh, real
doobie
Tubi.
feature.
Tubi doobie, yeah.
A Tubi doobie.
Um but yeah, legitimately like like one of the best.
Okay.
It's only a season, but there was a second season. It's not that good.
Yeah, I heard it
Um,
got reviews at best.
it's an anthology show though, so you
Yeah.
can watch this and the story
Mm.
is complete. The second season is a completely different. It's like a True Detective or American Horror Story thing.
Oh,
It's just
okay.
completely different thing. So you have this perfect little nugget, 10 episodes. We watched the first two. This is like I said, this is like the third time we've rewatched it, and we watched like the first two episodes on like a work night, so Clea had to go to bed, and then we watched the rest of them, the 8 other ones in one day. And that's one like because I do that with I haven't watched it this year, but like Band of Brothers is another one that I watch almost annually because
it
it's
just draws you in.
it draws
Never
you in.
seen
It's
that.
so good. I often watch that in one sitting. And it's like it's very similar in terms of like you have such a huge cast of characters, but every character is so well defined, and there's so many good characters with like complete character arcs. And I guess slight spoilers, but it's a pretty apparent, well, very early on in this, but like you're mostly just following the guys in the Terror to their deaths.
Yeah.
But like everything there's such good pay. It's like it's just people dying, but it's like there's such payoff too. Just somebody dying.
Like even though you think you know the ending, like still the journey to get to that point is just full of stuff that's like you wouldn't see coming.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, so just like super well defined characters, a great like mystery with like pretty decent like twists and turns. I love the fact that it is based on a real historical event, and then
Yeah.
they just were like they just filled in the blanks,
Yeah,
and
it's
it's
like
like that's the perfect way to do like historical horror.
yeah, it's like it's like obviously they had an ending. They were considered lost at sea or whatever. But it's like fuck it, we'll make a horror story out of it, and they did a phenomenal job.
Yeah, because they were lost at sea, and it's like, they don't know what happened to
Mhm.
them, so it's like, yeah, maybe this is what happened. You don't know. You can't say it didn't. Kind of. uh, but yeah, and then you got like, there's like so many, like it also like Band of Brothers where there's like, yeah, like a couple dozen like named characters, and it's like, yes, I know. I like the fact that like, I mean, it takes multiple rewatches, but that's part of why I like watching it so much, is because like every time I'm able to pick up on another thread and like another storyline and another character. So this time I was like, okay, now I know who Jobson is. Now I know who, I forgot their names, but like there's like the old guy and the younger guy who kind of have like a relationship and stuff, um then like even the main cast, Crozier,
Mhm.
Good Sir, Blanky, Fitzjames, like just all great characters, like
Yeah,
really really great characters, like not,
especially the idea of like a flawed protagonist. It's like,
yeah.
oh shit, I have crippling alcoholism, and now I have to lead these men,
Yeah.
while we no longer have the booze.
Yeah. 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 So,
The real terror, withdrawal.
yeah.
Well, yeah, it seems like that's actually plausible. I said it as a joke, but now that I think about it, I could see that being a plot point.
Yeah. Yeah, for a
Watch it
little
and
bit,
find
kind of.
out.
Yeah, watch it and find out. There you go. Okay. Now,
Yes.
welcome back, people, to episode 68 of There Will Be Duds. I am your co-host, TJ, aka J-Spot Jack Cheese, and with me, as always,
As always, I'm Nick, aka Dr. Funk on Twitch, and with us today,
Chris, just Chris.
just
Cool.
Chris.
All
Neat.
right.
Nice and simple.
And yeah, Chris is a, well, I don't know. I don't want to.
First
He's
time
one of our
listener,
friends.
or long time listener, first time guest.
Yeah. There you go. There you go.
Known you both since high school, which is over a decade at this point.
Yeah.
That's the real terror.
Yeah.
Yeah. Our own mortality.
Yeah. And Chris brought in a movie and a half. We're kind of doing two movies this week. The first one being The Descent from 2005, directed by Neil Marshall. It follows a group of 6 women who, it's like 6 months or a year after one of them was in a car crash that killed her husband and daughter, and it's kind of like she's still kind of going through that, and a lot of that, the trauma from that, and like how that affected their friendship, kind of is brought up, or it's kind of brought to the surface, under the surface,
As they
in the caves,
explore.
and then also there's they get trapped in the cave trying to get out, and then also there's monsters.
And the title is also a reference to their descent into madness as the situation unfolds.
Sure. Yeah. So do you want to take away, like, why'd you pick this one? Why'd you?
Uh, oh, uh, Gosh. Well, first and foremost, I really wanted to rewatch it when we were playing through the forest, for
Oh,
obvious
okay.
reasons, like
I
the
was
caves and like these like humanoid creatures in there. So that
Yeah,
made
for
me
sure.
rewatch it initially, and it's just I love. There's so many things I love about it as a horror movie. Like it's like a very confined setting, very small cast. There's like bits of found footage stuff mixed in when they're using like the infrared camera,
Mm-hmm.
and like one thing I do appreciate is like it's an all female cast, but they're not like the typical females in a horror movie. It's like, oh, these are people that will fight back when push comes to shove, and boy, do they do that.
Yeah.
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 But
That's always cool to see. Yeah.
mhm.
Or were you gonna say
uh,
more? Sorry.
yeah, let's say one thing I do enjoy about this is because I was looking up on IMDb, and there are shots where you see like creatures in the background or the foreground where even the cast didn't know they were there, or like not the cast, but like the main actors didn't know they were there, but like everyone on set was like, oh yeah, we're doing this particular camera angle for this reason, but they're actually doing it so they can show a creature without the rest of them knowing.
That's cool.
I was scanning throughout the entire thing, like in the background, just to
Mhm.
see if I could catch a glimpse of any of the creatures, like
Yeah,
as they were panning around and showing the backgrounds of the caves.
I think there's one I really like. It's very quick. Like as they're panning a flashlight, you see one duck out of frame, but it's never addressed at all. Because there are times when like they go over something and then they
Mm.
come back to it look, but there's one time where it's just not addressed at all. That there's something even there.
Okay.
Shit, yeah, I'm gonna have to. Yeah, definitely gonna need to look it up.
Yeah. I did also read that they didn't show any of the actors the like creature design or like what or like any of the people until
Oh
they
God.
actually like
Did that scene?
shot the
Ugh.
scenes to kind of like heighten their like kind of the tension or whatever, which is cool.
So
Um,
like the money shot scene when like she's using the infrared and like
Yeah.
things like behind that. I remember that so distinctly from the trailers and commercials for this movie, like when it came out.
Yeah,
I
and
think for a long time when I saw that like in high school, I was like, I don't need to watch this. I don't need to watch this movie.
no, because looking up and they talk about that, and like a lot of them ran off set, and like it was a combination of like basically like laughing to try and hide how scared they actually were, because it was like, oh fuck.
Yeah.
um,
Yeah, it makes me think of like I like that in horror movies. Like it makes me think of like Alien with like the chest burster. Like they very famously
Yeah.
like didn't tell the cast like what was gonna happen like when the thing explodes out of the dude's chest. I'm trying to think of other movies where they do that, where like they don't really let the leads in on what's going on, and like I guess
Yeah.
Blair Witch, even though you don't really see.
I think Saw did that with its like big reveal.
with
Oh really?
you might be right. Yeah, with Jigs like him being like
Yeah.
in the yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's a good one to
sounds
bring
like
in
maybe I
too.
heard
The
that.
first Saw movie, unironically, is like
Oh, the first
Oh,
Saw
yeah.
movie is
Perfect.
fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's just they should not have kept going.
Yeah. Yeah, no, for Saw 1 is like that's like a top 5 horror movie for me probably. That's a very very good movie. Um yeah, so I I th- I th- I feel like the hype for this movie kind of killed my enjoyment a little bit. I got to be honest, I didn't like it as much as I had hoped that I would. Because I'd heard like so many people say it's like one of the scariest movies ever, like one of the best horror movies of the 2000s. So I feel like I feel like if I didn't have that, I may have been able to enjoy it more, but I was being like so critical of it, I think, to where like um a lot of it's like some of the character stuff I couldn't vibe
I
with.
was gonna discuss that. It's basically a revenge movie disguised as a horror movie.
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah,
Like a
yeah.
slow, yeah. A slow
Well,
reveal
I
into
knew
that,
about I knew about the ending only because
yeah. I know
the
about
ending
too.
of this movie
Well,
appears on
which
so
ending?
many. Well, yeah.
Oh,
there have
yeah.
been so many like Watch Mojo like videos that I get sucked into that involve this movie
Mm.
that I know about the multiple endings, and like
Yeah.
the one was like so depressing that they didn't run with it or something like that.
Yeah,
and, like,
because when I first watched it, like not too long after it came out, I saw like air quotes the happy ending, which
Which
I
is
technically canon, I guess, because apparently they made a sequel.
yeah.
There is a sequel, yeah. I read about it. Well, yeah, Tubi was like, "You want to watch the next one, right?" And I was like, "Nah, I'm good. I'm
Yeah.
good."
Yeah.
I might watch it at some point just to say I have, but
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I've heard it's terrible. I watched like a review on the second one, and yeah, it sounds really really dumb. Do you guys care about if I spoil it?
go
I
ahead.
already read the Wikipedia article for it.
Oh, okay. So basically, Sarah gets out, and then there's like she kind of gets brought to like a town, and there's like there's like a team like getting organized, like who were gonna go look for them because they were missing, and they're like, oh, they weren't in the cave that they said they were gonna be in. So then they like go back into the caves with her, and then
Yeah.
they start getting picked off, and but like the characters seem like really dumb. Like there's like a sheriff who's like really suspicious of Sarah and thinks that she like killed all of them. But also Juno is still alive. She apparently survived that and was like living in the caves for, I mean, I guess it had only been like probably a couple days at that point, but
Yeah.
yeah. And
Just,
then
undercutting everything from like the first movie and
Yeah.
all that.
Ooh.
Just
But
be like, oh, what? Because I guess you don't technically see her death on camera, so but it's like, come on.
but it is definitely meant to be implied.
Yeah,
Going back to the start of film, I like how quick it goes to the actual story, but also is like you get it immediately, like, oh, like these are thrill seekers, like they're whitewater rafting,
Mm-hmm.
and then
Mhm.
obviously the accident occurs, and there's the stuff in the hospital, and it's like a year later, it's like, hey, we're going cave diving.
Yeah.
yeah. It's very. This movie was a very mid 2000s movie when I was watching it. Like, there's I
Oh,
don't know
definitely.
if like the score, the way it was shot, like the
The
acting
color
style,
grading even.
color grading. Yeah, I was like, this is the most like 2005 movie I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Not in a negative way, but it you
It's
watch
definitely
it
of
and
its time.
you
Yeah.
can
Yeah.
tell. Also, with like that style of action, I feel like that was very popular with like I'm thinking mainly of the accident. It looked like a Final
Oh.
Destination death.
Yeah, like especially with like the
Like that
overhead shot.
visceral like whoosh, like the squish sound of like the thing going through him.
Yeah.
But I do
Um.
like it establishes not long after the accident, she's having like the audio hallucinations of her daughter.
Hmm.
So it kind
Yeah.
of like throws initial stuff like, is that her own head or is something actually there?
Yeah. 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 There was like a lot to appreciate in the movie for me. A lot of like certain like technical things, like um the fact that they like the cave sets were sets that is
Yeah.
completely. I would have. It would be interesting to see what it would be like if they did actually try shooting a movie in a cave. But the fact that they are all sets and everything,
Hmm.
really impressive. They look really good for the most part. There's one where like the first like chamber room that they're in looked kind of but for the most part, set design, all that looked really good. The creatures were like 50-50 for me because there was some times where it didn't look good. A lot of the
Yeah,
stuff where they're like crawling on the
yeah.
ceiling
Where
and it's
they're
like really,
like when they're on the ground, they look great, but like the overhead stuff, it's like, yeah, that's not the best CGI.
yeah.
Well,
And
yeah,
but
and it's
I
like
I
with
kind of
creatures sometimes it's like sometimes you need to like tell, don't show. Like a
I
little
would say
like less is more.
they are more effective when they're just skittering in the background. It's like one
hmm
thing
Mm.
you kind of get early on is like, oh, these are ambush predators. Like they're not that scary out in the open. The horror comes
right.
because like you're in their playground, so to speak.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I also liked I mean, even though it was depressing and it made me like kind of like sympathize with the creatures more than, I don't know, maybe it was intended, but like the part where she basically murders an entire family like one by one. She like
Oh yeah, I thought that was
kills
meant
the
to be like
kid.
a parallel because there's like the moment where like the mother creature is like looking at the kid, kind of like you can tell there's a sadness there because they are
Yeah.
humanoid still.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And it's like, and then that made me think, I was like, well, yeah, they are like trespassing on their world, so yeah. um so but like that was, that's another like positive, like that kind of made me like that, like resonated with me, that scene. And also that scene just cool, like the blood pool. I know I like I knew I'd like seen some shots from that scene in
Yeah,
particular.
yeah.
That was a pretty cool one.
Because that's
um,
like that scene is basically like Sarah's turning point, and that's where it truly becomes
yeah.
a revenge movie.
Right, yeah.
Her
Oh,
little
I
like
guess
her Colonel Kurtz coming out of the water.
Yeah.
So
Like
I guess we'll talk about that plot point because what like early on there's a shot of I can't remember her husband's name, but like taking off
Paul.
Juno's helmet and it kind of lingers on them for a second. She gives them a weird look,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
then like a year later and all that, and then I guess we'll discuss like the money shot scene, so to speak, when they all scatter. Like, cause
Is
like
that's the money shot like where there's the one behind her and then
yeah,
yeah.
like the big reveal.
Yeah.
Cause like yeah, Juno definitely acts as one of the expedition members, but that's not exactly enough to make her an evil character in my mind. Because
I
like
I
she's
agree.
kind of like the bad guy of the story for obvious reasons, but like that's a heat of the moment accident where they're in the middle of being attacked and something comes up behind her, so she swings.
Oh, for killing the one girl, for sure.
Yeah, yeah,
100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't blame
That
her
was
for
that
that. But
that was
her
a
running
moment
away.
where I was
yeah.
like it's like if I just watched my friend like kill a monster, I would be like, "Yo, hey, whoa, what's going on?" But like, I'm not gonna silently walk up behind her and then
that yeah.
tap her on the shoulder because like she's in that heightened state from like killing this thing.
That's
Like she's like the only. Well, she's like the first one that actually like is like,
Puts up a
no,
fight.
I'm not going to be helpless. I'm going to like kick
Yeah.
this thing's ass.
yeah, that's one of those things where like I feel like if this movie hadn't been built up so much, I maybe wouldn't be as critical about. But I was like, that's such a cliche to have a character just walk up behind somebody. And it's like, say something. You would say, "Hey, are you all right?" Or don't just walk
That
up
was
silently
cool
behind.
that you did that.
Kind
Badass.
of on that same note, how like the expedition guide they take with them is the one who foolishly runs ahead and then ends up falling and breaking her leg. It's like,
Oh,
she
yeah.
should not be the one to be doing that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
But I just assumed they did
Parkour.
that. Yeah, I just assumed they did that because she's like, oh, we need a character to kill off early, but we don't want to be one of the main people.
Yeah.
When she shows up and they're even like, oh, she's the one of these people that like Sarah doesn't know. She's like the new person, and she's like, she's the more like wild one. She's got the spiky 2005 hair and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I was like, this feels like the really obvious like death fodder character. But I was like, but are they gonna do that? And then when she was like the first one to go, I was like, okay, good. I was like, I was like I'm glad that she went first, and then the next one that went was the one whose name I never remembered. So I was like, okay, yeah, get those ones out of there first.
I think the one who gets, I thought it was Beth. Beth is the one who gets axed.
Beth is the one who gets axed, and
like
then
through her throat.
And then there's Sam she's the one who like dies on the the one like cuts her throat.
Yeah.
She's, like,
Also,
hanging over the chasm.
that actress is in the Witcher series. That's Tiasana.
Oh really? I haven't watched that yet, but I know I've heard a lot of good things. I still haven't played The Witcher, and again, I know that's one that's like way
You
up
can
there.
skip the first one.
Oh yeah. Okay.
The combat system is basically a rhythm game.
In the first one.
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah, sparse notes for me, but I will say the caving and the climbing scenes were definitely effective for me. Like I wrote knees weak, palms sweaty. Like the extended scene of her trying to like fit the thing in so they can all kind of traverse across through the rope. That was like my because like every once in a while I'll see videos of like those Russian kids that climb on top of buildings and just like hang. Or like they'll jump from building to building, and it's like they're hundreds of feet in the sky. Like even just saying that right now, my palms are like getting sweaty. So like that shit was like very, very effective. Like I wouldn't say that I'm afraid of heights, but like just it's like a
doing stuff like that is like a different.
Like
same.
there's difference between being afraid of heights and just being stupid. Because like after a certain like after a certain point, I don't care how up I am because like that's a fatal fall, whatever. I'm more worried about the stuff where it's like, ooh, that'll hurt.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, oh, what? I'm up higher. Okay, that's an even more fatal fall. Like, at a certain point, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, I think I felt the most tension during just the regular caving stuff, and then like partway through, Kalia was like, she's like, this would be better if there just weren't monsters, and then like after that, I was like, I couldn't help but kind of think that like. If it had just been like a cave collapsing, you still could get some of those moments. Like for instance, Holly, she broke her leg all on her own. That was before they knew about the monsters.
Well,
so you can introduce these issues and still have people die off from accidents, and unravel the Juno thing.
Yeah.
And I think because like
Sarah's mental state herself, because she is like having those hallucinations.
Yeah. Because like them like going through that tight little part, like where the collapse happens, like especially after watching that Man in Cave video, that's like all I was thinking of during that. Like, very. Did you watch that, Chris?
No, but I think I know the incident you're talking about where the guy gets stuck upside down.
He's like on his back.
Oh no, then I'm thinking of an actual story. I'm not talking about a video, but like
I think you're thinking of the one.
There's
like the kid in the Nutty Putty cave that like he went in at like a 45-degree angle, and then like he died, and they sealed up the cave behind him.
Oh,
like he was upside down for so long, he basically had a heart attack.
Yep.
And it just
that.
And
that too. But.
Yeah, it's like no, thank you. I'd go on a guided tour of a cave, but I wouldn't do anything that involved any sort of like your own climbing or anything like
Yeah, I
that.
don't think I could
Yeah,
do that.
absolutely not.
I love
Like I
hiking
have
on my own, like backcountry hiking, but caves,
No
no.
thank you.
no, I have an old work buddy that likes to. I forget what it's called. I wanted to say free basing, but I don't think that's what it is.
Free climbing?
He,
Free climbing.
but
or,
he
yeah.
yeah, he goes down to like Tennessee and he has like all the powder on his hands and shit.
Yeah.
And he'll just like try to scale like a curved face of a rock, and like they typically don't do it with a ton of safety harnesses, which
If
is
if
scary,
you're not,
but
if you don't have any safety harnesses, then that would be free soloing. Is that what it is?
I
I
that
don't-
could be.
Yeah.
Because
I'd
that's
have
what
to- I'd have
if
to
you
ask him.
climb without any sort of safety shit, that's free solo.
Yeah. I think he
Oh.
has some, but yeah.
But
But
either way,
I
no,
was gonna
thank you.
say, yeah. Either way, not interested. I was surprised at the pacing of this because I saw it was like a tight 90. I was like, hell yeah, all right, that's check, it's a plus. But yeah, I was expecting monsters way earlier in the movie than there were, and I think the film was very effective at just utilizing the idea of caving as like the horror element, like getting
Yeah.
stuck, trying to like climb across this big ass chasm, and like they're on limited supplies, and just the idea of like being in an unidentified cave route that
Yeah.
no one knows about. And then it's like, even in 2005, like cell phones existed, but it's like there's no way that you're going to be able to get service through
Oh,
there
yeah.
to like get any
Not
sort
even
of help
now.
whatsoever.
Like,
Yeah.
Yeah. So just
'Cause-
like that helplessness
Yeah,
is terrifying.
Because it does hint at the creatures. Like there's the dead elk outside, but it's like, oh yeah, that's
Yeah.
nature. That could have been anything. And then there's
Mm-hmm.
like the claw, when they're in that first like open space, there's like the claw marks where I think it's Sarah like puts her hand up to it.
Uh-huh.
yeah.
But she doesn't bring it up, and it's never addressed. And then she wanders off because she thinks she hears something, and it's like the hallucination of her daughter.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think
that's right.
it's not. I guess it's not like directly addressed, but there is a scene where, like near the end, I think one of them gets dragged off, and she kind of like it pulls her
Oh, yeah,
hand.
you
It's
see her
just
nails.
Like,
Ugh.
Like that,
Yeah.
like that's the thing that really just like, ugh.
Yep.
uh-huh.
That and then the rope burn. That was like the
Yeah.
most like
Ugh,
guttural
yep.
reaction out of me. Which they do some of that stuff in the Terror too, and it's like anytime
Yeah.
there's any sort of like, I don't know, it's
It's
because I recognize it, right? Like I've had rope burn before, and then you see it like that, and you're like, oh my god.
I haven't
Yeah.
had it on to that scale.
Yeah.
No, 'cause I was looking at that. I was like, I'm not sure. Like, it would have to be doing a lot to actually break the skin to that,
Degree.
extent.
Mm-hmm.
Because yeah, rope burn is rope burn, but
Yeah.
something like that where it like looks like a slice because you just see like blood like spurting out. It's like, oh fuck.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Gaslight girl bosses. That was another note that I had.
Oh.
When she's like, "Come on, Sarah. There's nothing down there. You're just
Yeah,
hallucinating."
I do love that first shot of the one where you get it in the light, and then like it seems aware that something's watching it, so it like skitters off, and then she gets scared by Juno coming up behind her, and then obviously
Yeah.
there's nothing there, and everyone's just like, oh yeah, she's still like she's kind of crazy 'cause she's still recovering from losing her husband and her daughter in that accident.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
weird to me that like they act like what there's animals in caves, like
Yeah.
there could still be stuff down there, like
Yeah.
usually not as deadly as the ones in that one, but still. But yeah, I guess I remember I was gonna say the whole the pacing of it or whatever. I like that too. That like it was just I don't know if you said this, but it was like an hour or like close to an hour before that attack, and like I liked that the rest of it was because I kind of thought that they would show up earlier and that it would be more prolonged, but then I was like thinking like no, that makes sense, like that's how it would happen. Like it's just there's one attack, they all get split up, and then they're basically trying to reunite after that, and that's like
And
the rest
get
of the
the hell
movie.
out.
Yeah, it's a lot better. Like the only other way that it could have been done if it was more protracted or whatever, I don't know if I used that word right, but would be like they'd have to be picked off like separately, like they'd have to like get to one of them and then they'd disappear, and then they'd be like,
kinda
where
like
did they
a-
go?
Kind of like a more
Yeah.
traditional horror movie.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I like that it kind of broke the mold in that sense. That was cool. It was like unexpected, and I thought it was like done pretty well.
Again, I know you're not a big fan of it because of like the hype you had up to it, but watch it again Watch it again, knowing that it's only a horror movie on the surface, and it's about a woman going crazy.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
yeah,
I
I
mean,
like I said, I appreciated that stuff. Like every time there's like the shot of her daughter with like the birthday cake, I was like,
Hmm.
whoa, okay, because it was used like like because they use it as like a transition from like the car accident
Yeah,
to the
that's
hospital, and then
one thing I'll bring up. It's not something I noticed on my own, but something I saw when looking through stuff for it. Is like
uh
in every shot, there's only five candles on the cake, but in the final shot, there's six candles to represent all six of the women that are about to be blown out.
oh,
oh, nifty. That's kind of
that's
a cool
cool.
little
I read
detail.
that and I was like, oh, neat.
Oh, yeah. I kind of had the opposite effect where I didn't, I knew that this was a horror movie, but I almost went into it being like, okay, like this is probably gonna be like okay, but it's like a mid 2000s horror movie, and like some of the stuff that was kind of coming out at that time is like, okay, it's gonna be cheap thrills and jump scares and shit like that, and I was actually surprised at how much I did end up enjoying it and like
Yeah.
liked it. And I think the pacing was a huge thing for me, that it wasn't just immediately monsters like
Mm-hmm.
you kind of had like the relationships built up with like the characters. You kind of get some of their like motivations and like why who they are and like why they're doing things. But
But it
yeah,
doesn't
I
spend
overall
20 minutes on
what
everyone's backstory before they get to the actual plot.
yeah, you get these
Yeah.
little glimpses of kind of character interactions. Like, oh, okay, you're the roguish one. You're the
Mm-hmm.
you know
Yeah. Yeah, it does a pretty good job of that. I do always appreciate that where like a script can enmesh like exposition into
Mhm.
the story and not have to like be like, okay, here's the part where we do exposition and then here's the part where we do story, and they it I think it integrated
They
those two
trust
like
the
pretty
audience
well.
enough to figure stuff out instead of just sitting them down and explaining everyone beat by beat.
yeah.
Yeah. Probably because it's not an American, like if this was an American movie it would not be the
Yeah.
Yeah.
same. I'm
That
sure.
was one thing I noticed initially, is like they're in the Appalachian Mountains, but most of them aren't Americans. But I guess it kind of makes sense because I think Juno doesn't have a British accent. I think she has like an
She's a
American accent. So
yeah.
I guess it's just assumed they're like a group of friends who meet up and do adventurous stuff together.
There was like
I think
there
there's
was a
like
line.
there's I was just gonna say, yeah, Juno's in the movie. I think all the actresses are like Australian or British, but in the movie she's American.
Yeah.
Sarah's Australian. Holly is like Scottish or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's like a few different areas.
Yeah, but no, there was like a throwaway line where someone said something like, "Oh, well, last year we went to wherever in England for so and so, so like we all came to America
Yeah.
or something." There's a line that sort of explains why they're all English,
Yeah.
like
But,
in
Yeah.
United States.
but I
In
was
the
wondering
United
if they
States, yeah.
chose the Appalachians just because of like the actual age of that mountain range. It's like, oh, if something creepy is gonna be living under the surface where it's had eons to develop by itself, this is where it would be.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wonder about like cave systems. Of how many undiscovered ones there are like that.
Yeah.
Here's a fun game you can
Um,
play. Look up a map of disappearances in the U.S. and overlay it with a map of caves in the U.S.
I think I have seen that before. Ugh.
I think
Ghoulies are out there.
I thought, I mean, maybe it reaches over there too. They were in North Carolina. Yeah, maybe not. I was gonna say maybe it was like supposed to be part of like the Mammoth Caves. I know the national park that they're in is, well, it's not a real one,
I would say a
but
fake
it's
one.
not Mammoth Caves. But
I,
I
I
just
di-
I wondered if that was like maybe also part of it, like because the Mammoth Caves are like super famous.
I would say I
I
do
don't
want
know.
to point out it's like, oh, we have to show we're in America. Here's a sign with a bunch of bullet wounds in it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, a bunch of bullshit.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
someone peppered it.
That's
Yeah.
the real terror.
Yeah. um.
That's why they're glad when Holly died because they didn't have to pay for an ambulance ride.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um.
Oh, another
I keep losing my train of thought.
I would say another note I looked up is that for the creatures they hired actors instead of stunt people because they did want them to feel distinct from each other.
Oh, interesting.
And I was like, huh.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, that was yeah, despite them not always being convincing, I like that they, mostly with that scene with like the family, that they like almost like try to give them personality more.
Yeah.
So they're just like, oh, here's a bunch of monsters,
Hmm.
and they kill stuff.
Yeah, they're
and,
not all like just identical and like act in the same way. Like,
Yeah.
they're
Again, tying it
these.
back to the forest, they aren't mindless creatures. Like these have human or human-like intelligence at the very least.
Right, right.
Yeah.
They can plot, they can plan, they can leave when they don't have the advantage.
Now I just kind of wish that this was like they just called this the forest, and then I could be like, okay, yeah, change a couple things. Yeah, I could see that, like being like a decent adaptation. Yeah.
I want to see
A decent
the,
adaptation, like 15 years before a decade before
Yeah.
the forest comes out.
Yeah. Yeah.
A prequel, a true prequel.
Yeah.
yeah, no, I want to see like another like version of this movie. Only it's like from the perspective of the monsters,
Now
but
that's
it's also a horror movie, and it's just called like Six White Ladies. It's like like the monsters are just like, oh shit, oh, and then, like
You could have like I'm imagining like a jump scare where like kind of like the ones they do in this where they like they're kind of panning and you'll see them like duck out. Like there could be two of them just kind of like chilling, and then you see Holly sprint by in the background. Like, what the fuck was that? But it's just her
Yeah.
being like,
Or in the
unreal
background,
or
you just hear
whatever.
like the clink of climbing axes as they get closer.
yeah. The monsters are like genuinely terrified, and then like they're only killing them as like a defense mechanism.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hmm. But I do want to talk about like the cave painting they discover, where it shows like there's another exit to it.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, I really thought there'd be something in there hinting at the creatures being there. Like, oh,
Yeah,
I
same.
thought it was like, oh, this is gonna be like their warning that this is a known threat. So, like say like tribes in the area who probably painted this centuries ago know to stay away from the area, and that's why it's an unexplored cave system.
Oh, maybe.
Yeah,
Or
I was expecting like stick figures or some
Yeah,
sort of
like
indicator on there.
yeah, more than just elk, a cave, and another exit.
yeah. Yeah, I didn't really think about that. You could say that maybe they made it through and didn't see the monsters, and then by the time they did, they died before they could.
I mean,
fix
I
the
guess
painting.
I'm just
I
saying
don't
like
know.
that's what I thought the cave painting would be, instead of just
Right.
like something to give them hope.
Yeah.
Is that a Monty Python joke where they're like he's on the cave and he's just like, oh
Yeah. It's in the
Is that the
Grail's
Holy
in the
Grail?
castle of but
Yeah.
yeah. Like he was writing
Okay.
out his death sounds or whatever.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you wouldn't just write ah.
Yeah.
One thing I also want to talk about is the lighting of this movie, where a lot of it they do
Yeah,
a good job of like
yes.
matching it to the supposed light source. Like when they're using like the glow sticks, the lighting is very green. When
Yeah.
they have like the
Mhm,
helmets,
mhm.
it's kind of, or the helmets or flashlights, it's kind of like a washed yellow or white. And then when they have the flares,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
red. They do a good job of keeping up with that for the most part. It's
Yeah.
like, okay, I kind of like that. You do get to feel that like it's an isolated environment. It's not just one color.
Yeah.
That's what made me think of the forest a lot. Particularly that one clip of us when we're like fighting one of the big armsies, and like I think you like threw a flare down there, and like the way that it like illuminates the cave in that red is very effective.
Yeah.
I threw the dynamite down and it blew up.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. Yeah, that was another thing I really appreciated that I was forgetting to mention was the lighting,
That this
because that's
podcast is sponsored by the forest.
yeah. Yeah.
Go
Yeah.
play.
I know I know we're gonna be hopping on Sons of the Forest whenever that comes out. So
Yeah.
Oh, 100%.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
um uh shit. Okay, lighting. Oh yeah, because that was another thing about the second movie and like the review that I watched. It's like they don't do that at all. It's like lit like a movie, and it looks so weird after watching this movie.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
It
Yeah.
definitely seems like a sequel that missed the point of the original then.
Yeah, I think so. It's not. I think the Neil Marshall might have. He was probably a producer, I'm sure, but he didn't like direct it. I don't think he wrote it either. So yeah,
The guy who directed it is the editor of the first one,
okay,
and I think he is I think Neil Marshall is a producer, but only
that makes sense.
I don't know, maybe they're just offered a paycheck and like, hell yeah, more money. But
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean that's like another thing where if it's like if you have a good successful thing, the studio will try to run it into the ground with spin-offs and sequels, which I'm glad that there was only that one sequel. I mean, it's like
and then they learned their lesson. Plus, you can ignore it if you go with the bleak ending.
Yeah, yeah.
And
Yeah,
that
that's
is the
true.
guy's only movie that he directed. He's edited a good amount of movie. Like he's still editing movies. That's the only one he has directed.
Guess he learned his lesson.
He's edited some pretty
They
good
took the keys
movies.
away from him.
He did 127 hours. That movie's so he's a good editor. Just
Yeah,
he's a good editor, and that's it.
Some people have a thing they're good at, and they can try something else, and it doesn't pan out.
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
I do want to go back to discussing like what happens once the creatures are revealed, because
Mhm.
like as I had out earlier, like it shows like very effectively. Oh yeah, these are ambush predators. Because every time they're attacked after that, with the exception of like when they're at a disadvantage, they fight them off and they kill the creatures. Like especially that one scene where Sarah just like straight up like thumbs to the eyes one.
Yeah.
It's like, oh fuck, I'm supposed to be rooting
Yep.
for her, but still, that's brutal.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Or
yeah.
in Juno, throwing axes one in the back and then comes up and snaps its neck while it drops to its knees.
Yeah.
That was one of my notes. Like, man, Juno's hardcore. Because then
Yeah,
the other woman, I think it's Rebecca, just spits on the corpse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Rebecca
yeah,
was
yeah.
probably my favorite character. She was the MVP for sure. Even though she didn't rack up as many KOs as some of the others. But I think
Is she the one that just kind of gets unceremoniously dragged away?
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
no, 'cause,
that
like,
was-
like you see her guts open up, and then she's like doing like thing where like her hands are twitching. She's being eaten while she's still alive, and then kind of like dragged away.
Wait, did
Yeah.
this? Oh yeah,
Yeah.
you're right.
Because
Yeah.
it's
But
like it's
and
like when
she's
they're
the
at,
one
like
who
the
does
lip
the
of the
nails.
cave. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was kind of a bummer because I felt like that was just like it's like they need this confrontation between Sarah and Juno. So like she gets dragged away now, and it's like
Yeah.
okay.
Bringing that up, Beth still being alive and being found later with her body not being eaten after getting an axe to the throat.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, here's the necklace that I conveniently grabbed from Juno with the quote that your husband always said.
Yeah, here's your live laugh love keychain.
Yeah. Yeah. So there is definitely some like plot contrivances like
Some
that.
Oh, yeah,
some
definitely
manufactured
falls into,
plot
but-
details.
Yeah.
I think what I liked most about it though was like again like you said at the very beginning their descent into barbarism and madness and paranoia.
Mhm.
Like I'm assuming you guys also felt this way too, but like after Sarah like kind of is in the blood pool and like savagely kills the whole family,
That's her baptism.
the way that she's moving and climbing and like her eyes change, she has
she has like that manic look, just like the
she looks feral.
yeah.
And it's like, she like in like the big thing at the end, which I thought was a really cool shot, her climbing over the bones to get, into the
I did write
exit.
down like that wide shot where she's crawling towards the light.
That was pretty cool. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like, she's literally climbing over like the bones of everyone else who's gotten as far as she has, and she's like the one that gets out. But it's
Or
like,
is she?
oh, ooh. But like, even when she like stabs Juno in the leg, and then it cuts. There's a few times where it cuts to her eyes, and they're like so strikingly blue, and everything else is just covered in blood.
Yeah, I did
And
love
it's
that
like,
contrast.
yeah,
and, like,
this
just
is
the focus.
She's
Yeah.
almost like
Yeah,
it's
that's
almost like
true.
she understands the creatures. Like she has a better like instinct in those caves where like she knows exactly like how they think and how they act.
Much like my character in The Ungrateful Dead, the moment any zombies show up.
Just Kill Bill sirens.
Yeah, just no transition or real like logical like movement into this. It's just I know how
no
they-
thoughts or moral quandaries. Just okay, well it's time. Gotta kill
Yeah.
these guys.
two of which are my siblings. It's a good movie.
I will talk about another shot I love. It's Rebecca and Sam, and they have like one of the glow sticks, and they're kind of like running away, and it goes overhead, and there's like a creature like above them, like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then it's like one of those things like the audience sees it, but the characters don't address it at all. They just go right by and like in their hurry, and then like you just hear the skittering behind them, so it's like it's coming, and then it goes to a different shot. And you're like, oh, what now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there are like even at that point, there are elements there where it is still like fear, even though like these creatures don't really hold up one on one.
Yeah.
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 They definitely rely on the element of surprise, and also just being scrappy as shit. Like every time they
Yeah.
fight them, they're just constantly like rolling around.
Yeah, like there's a couple times you
Yeah.
see like people getting bit, but it's not like a kill shot to the throat. It's just like them trying to do stuff. Oh, and that's another
Mhm.
thing. I
Yeah.
fucking Sarah bites one of them at one point,
Yeah,
Oh
she
yeah.
does.
and like
Yeah, that's
takes
right.
flesh with her on like the up.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
I was like, yeah,
Um.
man. I mean, once you kill a kid and its mom, you just go for it, I guess.
Yeah.
I'm your mom now.
um. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh shoot, another point I want to bring up because I looked it up. Every scene in the cabin is just it's a one room cabin, so every scene in there was a different thing. They just had to redecorate it.
Oh.
Wait,
That's
what?
the cabin earlier in the film,
Yeah,
earlier in
yeah.
the film, like they
Film.
pretend it's multiple locations, but they just redress it. It's like, oh yeah, we had one room to work with.
Oh,
Oh,
okay.
yeah, because like she's like running from thing to thing, like, oh, time to
Mhm.
wake up. That's funny.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yes, I remember that scene now. Yeah. Huh. Interesting. Um.
I mean, use what you got, I guess. They blew all the budget on the styrofoam rocks for the caves.
Yeah.
Because that's the only thing I was gonna bring up. There are times they're going through stuff and you see something just shift way too easily, and it's like, yeah, that weighs nothing.
Oh. Okay. I didn't. pick up on that.
Yeah,
As much.
like in that
Interesting.
small tunnel, very first woman to go through, like there's a thing above her, and you see her just like move it out of her way with her shoulder, and it's just like, boop.
Oh. Okay.
I guess my disbelief was fully suspended. I wasn't like, oh damn, she shouldn't be able to move that cave as easily. But now that you say that, it makes
Could
sense.
be a loose rock. I don't know. I didn't see
Yeah.
it.
I mean, it's probably because I've seen this movie like 4 or 5 times at this point that I.
You're right.
Yeah. Um.
I also regret to inform in this instance, Tubi does show booby, and it's
Oh.
the
Crawler booby.
Oh,
crawler booby. I was like, oh,
oh yeah. Also, right in
Tubi
that
showing booby.
right in that section, one thing I forgot is that when she finds Beth still alive, like Beth straight up asks her to finish her off, so she just like canes her with a rock.
Oh, I know.
I was
And
like, it's
it's
just like
like-
close your eyes.
Yeah, it's like that sucks, but I mean, that's what you'd want to do for someone in that situation.
yeah.
Yeah.
Like I
I-
can't get you out, but I can make it quick.
And yeah, I know that. Yeah, she didn't really have anything else, but I feel like I would have done it. And it's probably hard to do that to your friend, but I feel like I would have tried to do it a couple times because I was so like. Obviously, I think in the context of the movie, she killed her because I feel like they would have maybe addressed it if she didn't. But if I did that, I'd be like, they might not be dead yet.
Mhm.
You
Yeah.
know,
Gotta make sure they're not playing possum.
yeah, so, like they could still technically be like alive, and I'd be like, okay, I gotta make sure that I see some brain juice or something. I don't know.
She's
you
like,
do a whack, then you check for pulse, and then
Yeah.
she's like, oh, can you put me out my misery? And she's like, okay. And then she like starts to walk away, and you just hear like, Sarah, do it again. You gotta do it again. Come on.
I feel like there's like, is that like Will Ferrell in like an Austin Powers movie or some shit like that, where like he falls down like a canyon in like a car and it like explodes, and you just hear him like yelling up like, I think I'm still okay, and then like something else like falls off, like a boulder falls off the cliff onto him, and he's like, I can't feel my legs now, but
No,
shit just like keeps happening.
Did you ever watch the Robot Chicken Star Wars?
Like
I don't
the
think
first
so.
one,
Oh,
yeah.
Because there's one
It's
where
been a
like an
while, though.
Empire Trooper hits an Ewok while on a speeder,
Mm-hmm.
and he's like trying to finish it off, and he like has the rock over its head to like finish it off, and like he gets a call on his radio, so he drops the rock on its leg, so it just starts screaming again. And then he goes to try and shoot it, but he can't look at it, so he just ends up shooting it in the arm.
That's
Just
funny.
shit like that.
That's good.
And then they come
what a
back in the
humorous
descent
transition
too.
from braining your friend.
Yeah. She's still alive in like the descent too, like 2 days later.
Yeah.
She's like,
They,
Jesus Christ, one of you please kill me.
yeah, that's what in the Descent 3 they find out that like all of them are still alive. So, like a little bit. Um. Okay. Um. Are we good to move to scores, or is there anything else you
Yeah,
wanted to?
I'm looking over. I think that's all of my real
Oh,
notes.
Okay.
the
Other
only
than
other thing I
talking,
was gonna say is that, speaking of scores, the score in this movie was like they were going for like best
Mhm.
picture Oscar
Oh.
winner. Like
They-
it made me think of like the Silence of the Lambs score, just like that big, dramatic, sweeping like
Mm.
strings. Like the ending, like I thought the ending was pretty effective. Like because I knew
Yeah.
when they
Yeah.
took that picture, I was like, that's gonna be the finale. Is like after everyone's gone, that's what they're gonna show.
Mhm.
But I was like, the score was like way too epic for like
I say like
a good horror movie.
there
It's
are
like-
times where it works. Like again, the long shot where she's ascending the bones to the light.
yeah, yeah,
The music there
Yeah.
works, but
Yeah.
there are times like you're going a bit too hard. You're not Phil Collins.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
when,
The composer just put his whole dick into this.
His
like,
whole
it
pussy.
was- yeah.
I do want to talk. One other thing I skipped over my notes is like you see Juno leave Beth behind after she axes her, and then you also see Juno abandon Rebecca once Rebecca gets tagged by the creatures. And then
Oh, yeah,
then she
right,
herself
yeah.
gets injured and abandoned by Sarah.
Right. Yeah.
yeah.
So
But then
I guess it's supposed to
apparently
be a
she
satisfying.
survives.
I guess it's supposed to be a satisfying payoff. It's like, oh yeah, she's getting what she deserves. But again, it's like like rewatching the movie. It's like she's not evil. She's not a good friend, that's for sure. But
Yeah.
she's a human reacting how humans
It's-
do stuff.
It's she like
Yeah,
I feel
that's how
like
I
Juno's
felt.
whole thing was like because was she the one at the beginning that was like, we have to do this all like by the books, like
No,
I'm
she hid
leading
the guidebook.
no okay no I'm talking about
Oh,
like
yeah, she does that
like
too, yeah.
caving practices.
Oh,
She's
yeah.
like there's like, okay, no, we have to go in this order, I'm leading, like she's like not like by the book of like the cave, but like, you know, the whole
Yeah.
idea.
Yeah,
I mean, Holly's being the most like disruptive one before
Yeah, no,
before
exactly,
she
because
No,
there's
I-
like
fan.
because
I think
Holly, there's
Juno-
like a really bit of bad green screen where Holly comes flying in,
Yeah.
and then like they yell at her about that because it's like,
Oh.
no,
And
we
again,
do this
she's
in a
supposed to
certain
be
way.
the guide. So
Yeah.
she would not be the one doing that. But again, I think that's another plot point is Juno is purposely leading them off the path to that new system, so that's why she wants
Yeah.
to lead it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I guess like what I meant is like Juno is very like
To take charge.
takes charge, but is also just like no, we have to move forward. You're not gonna make it. I'm sorry. This isn't because I think you're a bad person, but you're dead weight, and you're probably gonna. It's very like cynical,
fittest.
Pragmatic.
realistic survival of
Yeah.
pragmatic. Yeah,
yeah.
it's like, is that worthy of a death sentence? I don't know.
Yeah, that's kind of how I felt too when that happened. Like I knew it was coming and everything, but I don't know.
Yeah.
I couldn't fully get behind that.
I mean, she does seem like badass when she pulls out the axe that Sarah got her with. She like turns to face the horde, and then it's just that god awful green screen shot of them crawling over.
Yeah. That was yeah.
There were a few that were kind of iffy, but that's the one. Like, you can tell that's
Yeah.
the 2000s.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. Again, give it a little. I cut it a little bit of slack
Yeah.
because of it being like a
it's time.
pretty low budget movie.
Yeah.
And, you know.
Yeah.
That is another thing I do enjoy about it. It's like you don't have to have a huge blockbuster budget to make an effective story.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I
Who wants
believe
to go
that's all I
first?
have for my notes.
Cool.
I mean, I can lead it off so I can tell you where I'm at with it since I'm the one
Do
who
it,
suggested
yeah.
it.
Sure.
I give this like a solid 8, maybe an 8.5. But
Okay.
again, it's a great movie, small cast, kind of small budget, and it's one of those movies that if you go into the mindset of it's not a horror movie, you should definitely rewatch it. It's like, oh yeah, it is about their descent into madness. Like the creatures are
Mhm.
just background things. I think before the sequel came out, there was a theory that Sarah did murder them all, and she just like projected the creatures to kind of deal with
Oh, interesting.
her own descent,
Hmm.
which would have been a really cool direction if they did do a sequel.
If they ever decided to make one, yeah.
Yes,
Um.
but yeah, 8.5, somewhere. in
Okay.
there.
I'll put you down for 8.5, I guess. If that's okay.
All right.
Okay.
You want to go or me? Oh, go ahead.
I'll go, and then Nick, you'll be our average probably.
Probably, yeah.
I went with 6, so
Yep.
it's still in the positive. I think there's a lot of like I said, a lot to appreciate technically, especially for it being the the small budget that it was, and but then yeah, it was just like the stories and the characters was like a mixed bag for me, because there was stuff I appreciated. Like I like that there were, they developed the characters pretty well and it didn't feel stilted, and yet, like I mentioned before, there was a lot of plot contrivances that, yeah, and then the ending with Juno, like we just discussed, like I don't know, there was just stuff I wasn't like fully behind, but not like, like I said, still positive, still good. Just yeah, maybe I built it up too much for myself, and I will, probably not. Maybe next year I'll give it another shot or something. Sometime in the future I'll give it another go.
All right.
So 6.
And then, yep, before you even said it, I was at a 7, so perfect.
Nice.
Yeah. I do like the read of it being their descent into madness, and like Sarah's, like, dealing with her trauma in possibly one of the worst ways imaginable. But for being, a small budget, small cast, I thought it was very effective. I thought the caving scenes were very effective, especially for being a practical set. It looked really good. But on the inverse of that, some of the stuff looked pretty bad. But as the CGI stuff, you can forgive it. Like the bats, there's like the scene where like all the bats come flying out of the cave, and it's obviously like CGI bats, but she's still over there like freaking out. It's like, okay, those aren't real. It's whatever. But some of the creature stuff was a little, the more you focused on them and more you showed them, it was like a little. It's like I like the whole mysterious aspect of the creatures.
The more they're
when
on
you
camera,
don't see them,
the less scary they become.
Yeah, and but also it kind of works with like the family that we were talking about, where like you kind of sympathize with them too, and kind of understand that, they are also like responding to like their surroundings and stimuli. So it's like, I don't know. It's fun to project onto this movie. Like you can watch it as a straight-laced horror movie, or you can watch it with like their relationships in mind, or you can watch it with like the creatures in mind. So yeah, it's fun. I thought it was pretty good. It was honestly like better than I thought it was gonna be for a mid-2000s horror movie. And yeah, I'm at a 7 with that.
Nice. Cool. So I think I don't have a speaking of, but I think we'll do ad break here. So speaking of ad break, here's an ad break.
Yep.
And then do either of you guys have to?
I need to go get more coffee.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do I have to pause my recording or anything? Or
no, just let it go.
Yep.
All right. Cool.
All right. I'll be right back.
Okay.
Psych, there won't be a Nick.
Oh hell yeah. Fuck yeah, dude. I was sitting here thinking like, it's been a while since I've done that, and I was literally about to start talking. I was just making sure you guys were gone. Awesome.
That's
okay.
how you know I'm a listener.
Hell yeah.
So
all
now
right.
we just have to get him to watch Stink Bomb and Cannon Fodder.
Yeah. I'm okay just sticking. I mean, I was hoping we'd be able to. We can still talk about them, but
yeah. I mean briefly. Okay,
yeah.
But now I'm actually gonna go get coffee.
Okay. Okay, this is now. There won't be Nick or Chris.
Or will there?
Shit. All right. Are we back then?
Yeah, I'm thinking we're back.
Backstreet's back. All right.
All right.
Ooh, we got a little twist on it. I like that.
Just like we have a little twist on the episode. Speaking of twists, here's a twist on the episode. We're doing another movie review.
Spooky.
Spooky. we are reviewing. Uh, well, it's okay. So we're doing Magnetic Rose, which is part of the feature film Memories from 1995. Uh, so it's an anthology movie. There's 3 parts. We're just doing the first one, um, which is Magnetic Rose, which is directed by Koji Morimoto. It follows a crew of space. They're like on a space salvage ship, and they find this crew finds this like space or like a ship sort of junkyard, all this like floating debris and stuff, and they go on it to salvage to do their job, and uh, the guys on the ship start seeing things. There's like the place is very well kept and very nice looking, and they see like a woman there, and then kind of the lines between reality and not start blurring. And I guess I'll also say me and Chris did watch the whole of Memories, so we'll touch on the other ones too because I think they're worth mentioning for sure. But we'll try to primarily focus on Magnetic Rose since that was the only one we all watched. So I guess I'll turn it to you again, Chris, to like why.
Yeah, another Chris
why,
suggestion.
Yeah, another one from Chris. I liked both of his suggestions when he told me, so I was like, yeah, let's do both. Why not? So yeah, why Memories or Magnetic Rose in particular?
Well, I wanted to focus primarily on Magnetic Rose because of the horror aspect. Like I was telling you guys earlier, I follow the creator of the creature Siren Head on Twitter. His name is Trevor Henderson, and he was talking about like space horror, and he's like, basically you have either aliens or you have Magnetic Rose. Those are the pinnacle. Everything else just comes off as a ripoff of one or the other. It's like, oh, I've watched Aliens God knows how many times, so I'm gonna watch Magnetic Rose. So I watched it, really enjoyed it, and then you guys are talking about doing horror stuff for October. I was like, hey, this is right up my alley. So I threw it out there as a suggestion, and rewatched it, and yeah, it's a great little movie. 45 minutes, tells one hell of a story. Like you touched on
Mm-hmm.
earlier, like they're like a salvage crew, and they're responding to an SOS in like a region of space that's just referred to as a ship graveyard because of the magnetic fields, and just like
Mm-hmm.
shit goes from there.
Yeah. Um. Yeah. I had seen this years ago. Which I think kind of the same reason that you said before is like I this was like early Netflix days, like when they were just you could get the DVDs mailed to you, and I used it for anime pretty much, pretty much. Um, and I watched Akira because that's like one of the pinnacles of
Hmm.
anime. Loved it, still love it. Completely traumatized me as a kid. I watched it way before I should have because it's there's still some lingering trauma from that, to be honest. But it's always stuck with me. And then I noticed the writer and director Katsuhiro Otomo hasn't done a bunch else for like especially feature films. Um, so I was like, yeah, I'm gonna get anything I can of his. Um, and this is so he only directed the final one, Cannon Fodder,
Huh.
but these are all based on his stories. So all of these are based on manga that he wrote. But then Katsuhiro Otomo wrote the screenplay for Stink Bomb and Cannon Fodder, and then Satoshi Kon did the screenplay for Magnetic Rose. And Satoshi Kon is another like legend of anime that I've only seen like one of his movies, but I have like basically every single movie of his in the cup because like he also has only like 4 or 5 movies because he died a while ago. Um, but they're all supposed to be pretty great. He's the guy who did Perfect Blue, which is what Black Swan is based on and stuff, and um, done some very influential stuff. So with that, you have story by Katsuhiro Otomo, one anime god, and then screenplay by another anime god, Satoshi Kon. Um, and I will say when I watched it originally, um, the only one that really stuck with me was Stink Bomb. I remember thinking like the other ones were boring, but Stink Bomb was a lot of fun, and I watched
Yeah,
Stink Bomb a few times. But this time I liked all three of them. Yeah, and I'll say Cannon Fodder a little bit less, but Stink Bomb and Magnetic Rose are fantastic. I think they're both really, really good.
I think order-wise, Cannon Fodder should have been in between the two, just kind of as like a short palate cleanser between the
I
films.
agree. I agree for sure. It's a good transition too,
Hmm.
right? Because you have like Magnetic Rose is really serious sci-fi horror, uh, and then Stink Bomb is like complete
A
reverse.
misadventure.
Yeah, apocalyptic comedy, and
Yeah.
then Cannon Fodder is like almost like a good mix of it. It's this weird like dystopian,
It's
but there's some
it's
humor
like
to it.
a dystopian slice of life. It reminded me a lot of like 1984 of
Yeah,
like
for
everything is
sure.
so regimented. This is what you do. You go by the books, by the numbers. You conform. You don't get noticed.
Yeah.
And like just the constant brainwashing of all like the propaganda about it.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, we can discuss that more later. That's not the focus of right now.
Yeah, yeah,
No,
yeah.
that's fine. I feel like Magnetic Rose would be one that, like, yeah, you watch when you're a little bit younger and you're like, that was weird. But, like,
Yeah.
I feel like as the older
I think
you
that's
get,
what I thought.
like, Magnetic Rose is much more, it has much more depth as you become an older person and
Mm-hmm.
are more aware of the world around you.
Mm-hmm. I will say, even from watching it when I was a kid, there's, and I'll say this about all three of them, but probably the most with Magnetic. Yeah, it has to be the most with Magnetic Rose. Like so many, like really cool shots. Just there's
Mm-hmm.
so many shots in this movie that have like stuck with me since watching it, fucking 15, 20 years ago. Um, like
And just
the decayed, like when he's at that like dinner table with his wife and daughter, and then he like
hmm
steps away and they're like that like white decayed like
Yeah.
weird
yeah, like
stuff.
kind of like an android looking thing, and it looks like the ship is trying to absorb him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah, and like
Yeah,
it's like
yeah.
pulling his gun in, and then like when he, which is so good. Like I know for a fact like I didn't give a shit about this when I was younger, but like the stuff like with his daughter, and then like he like looks up and she's falling, and he goes to catch her, and she just falls right through him and
Hmm.
Yeah.
dies. Was like that
Yeah,
that really hit me. That was like really good.
and then he looks up and sees the woman with his daughter, and it's like if you cross this threshold, you could have everything you wanted, but you
Yeah.
can never
Mm-hmm.
leave.
Yeah,
I
and
guess
like
we'll.
I thought it.
Oh,
you
go
guys
ahead.
go. I've talked enough. Go ahead.
I think this short does a really good job also of like showing not telling, where you pick up on a lot of the characters' backstories and it's not
Mm-hmm.
explicit like lines of dialogue like you see in his he's like, okay, we got to film you going into this wreck to make sure that it's legit, that this is a legit rescue operation, so I need to see your badge. And like he shows the badge and you can see the picture of him and his wife and daughter like just
Mm-hmm.
in the picture, like you'd keep a picture of your family in your wallet. And then the sort of slow reveal that like he had this traumatic event happen to him. His daughter like fell off the roof, and he it, I think it did a good job of like not just of showing that of subtlety. I don't know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
trying to say.
Also, before we get too in depth, I want to say they use the phrase ghosting to refer to like someone you're
Yeah,
seeing just disappearing on you. I was like, this was 1995 and they were using it. Like, was that a phrase back then, or did they just fucking sink a
he
3 pointer from
even
half
said
court?
like oh, Miguel gets ghosted by women all the time,
Hmm.
or like they use it in that
Yeah,
specific
it's like
Yeah.
terminology.
they nailed it 20 years before it was a thing.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I guess because there's a crew of four people in the space in their little like their vessel, the Corona, and then two people go in like the actual salvage pod,
Yeah.
Miguel and Hines, and it becomes very clear like they are polar opposites of each other. Like Miguel is the womanizer character, very
Mm-hmm.
brash, whereas Hines is like he's got the photo of his family in the wallet. He's like very like grounded,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
and that's why like they have such different impressions of the ship, the Madama Butterfly, which is where they're responding to the SOS.
Mm-hmm. And
Yeah.
different. You said like Heinz, like he has like the vision of them, and he could have everything he wanted. He
Yeah,
rejects
They're
it,
and it's
but then
they're
still
both
Miguel
sort of
goes
led by
for it.
their
yeah, but it's
different
here's the thing. It's
vices.
like Heinz is still seeing like his reality where it's like Eva is now like his wife, but his daughter is still his daughter.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And then Miguel is like in basically her fantasy, and he's willing to just play that part. Cause
Oh
she's calling,
yeah,
yeah,
I didn't even
he
like
like
make that. I didn't even really. Yeah,
yeah, like once he's like in there, so to speak, he's referred to as Carlos for the rest of the time, except for when
that's right.
Heinz or any of the other guys are trying to reach him.
Yeah, yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
Um,
the other guy tries to like resist as much as he can, but Miguel is just like, "Oh, you want to call me Carlos? Yeah, hell yeah, all right, whatever, let's do it. That's fine. I'm down."
um,
Yeah,
yeah, he's all for it. He's just like he likes what he likes.
yeah. I would say I guess we should give a bit of background. The ship belongs to a woman uh, named
Ava
Ava.
Braun.
No. Ava Friedel,
Friedel, yeah.
and the year is 2095, and she was an opera singer from like 2030s thereabout.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And so like this ship is where she basically disappeared to after she left public life. After her lover, a man named Carlos, died under mysterious circumstances.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I think the idea is because at the end of it, there's like a shot that shows her corpse. I mean, obviously, she's dead, and not a surprise, I guess. But
Yeah, and probably
I,
has been for a while.
yeah. So I think the idea is that like the AI of the ship, like, took on her personality or something like that,
Mm-hmm.
and
That's
then
that.
it has all this stuff built in, like the holograms and all this, because probably she retreated to this spaceship in after she like left public life and left Earth. But she, I'm sure to like emulate back home, she did all this stuff up to make it seem so now this ship has all of these tools to fuck with people who come on it, and project all these visions and stuff like that. But it's just it works within like the context of the story, because it's like, yeah, okay, this AI has access to all this, so this is how it's making these guys see this stuff and feel this stuff and everything. Yeah, just a really tight, smart story. It's and just crazy cool visuals, like the layout, or like how the ship looks, but then also how it transitions from like scene to scene, or like hallucination to hallucination. It's just so clean and just so interesting.
And just the appearance of grandeur until you actually go to interact with it.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
like running his hands along all the dresses, and they're just like crumbling and stuff.
Yeah,
Like that kind of
yeah.
stuff.
That's a very cool visual cue of, seeing like the decay of it all.
Yeah.
Speaking of
Like as
visuals,
soon as you interact with it physically, it's like,
Yeah.
oh wait, no, this is actually what it's like.
but speaking of visual stuff, there's like the parallel of like the little music doll. That's like the little girl thing,
Yeah.
Mhm.
and Heinz can't catch it as it falls off the desk and it shatters.
Oh.
I wrote that down at the end too. I was like, oh, I get it. Yeah.
Oh man, I didn't even think about that. That's pretty good.
I do
Yeah.
love the music selection as well. Like kind of like we talked about the Descent earlier, where it doesn't always match up, but this one, like especially like the grand tone of it really makes sense. It's like, oh yeah, she was an opera singer,
Uh-huh.
and this whole vessel is like a monument to her past. Like the very
Yeah.
first shot with like the massive chandelier, and there's like the open space, then there's like the stage.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. 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 I like the music in all of them. They're all like different. And even as I was watching Stink Bomb, Kalia was like, she commented that even just within Stink Bomb, there's like no repeated theme or like every song that plays is like different. I think I like the music the most in Stink Bomb. I think it works the
Yeah,
best. Like
I'm not
with
sure
the
what
context
genre
of that
it
story,
is, but it sounds like Japanese ska.
yeah, like Scott, like jazz
Like
or something like that.
like fast tempo. You got the trumpets going on.
Yeah, yeah, it's pretty nuts. But yeah, I like the music in all three. But Yeah, for me it works best in Stink Bomb, but that's not to say that it doesn't in the others either. Um,
Yeah, it fits thematically in this one
mm-hmm.
with her being an opera singer.
Yeah, yeah. Um, and much like The Descent too, you have like clean and quick character setup. Like, you know,
Yeah.
doesn't linger on it because it has even less time than than The Descent. But yeah, you know who all the characters are like right away, and then it just lets you sit with them as they all die, I guess.
Yeah.
Mostly.
As if like the orbiting decayed ships around the actual rose like weren't like an indicator to them that like, hey, maybe this is a bad idea.
Yeah, yeah.
Like even when they shoot I think it's called the analyzer cannon to try and stabilize the magnetic field, and like everything starts getting like blown out of the hull, and he
Mm-hmm.
comments like, "Oh, these are the people, the remains of the people who were stuck here before, who got
Yeah.
lured in and stuff."
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, they're like, yeah, like hitting him in the face as he's trying to hold on. Yeah, that's messed up.
But yeah, talking about like the blending of like the holograms and like the appearance of the grandeur with like the real stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, the scene where Miguel is down in the pit, and then you see it from Heinz's perspective, where like Miguel is dancing with Eva in like a green field, and it goes to Heinz's perspective, and he's just like in this pool of sludge.
Yeah, yeah.
And then it
Mm-hmm.
starts to blend when he goes down in there, and then the ship is trying to stop him from reaching Miguel, and like you see like the source of light, and you see all the people around him applauding and stuff, and then like he
Yeah.
crosses a threshold, and then that source of light goes away, and it's all just like the decay is what's left.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, on a different tangent, we're a lot better at titling stuff than them, I realize, because it had like the Japanese titles underneath each of them, and I just thought our titles were way better, way more memorable. Because this one was it was called like Her Memories or Memories of Her, which I guess
Yeah.
at least it's got the title of the movie in it. But Stink Bomb was the stinkiest weapon, and
Yeah,
then
Oh.
Cannon Fodder is the city of
the city of
cannons.
cannons.
It's like, I the title of all three of these I think are great in
Hmm.
like the English version. They're all like very memorable titles. And also, on the Tubi front, this is like the best commercial breaks ever. They were all at like natural throughout the entirety of Memories, all at like good stopping points, like where you
Yeah.
would
Yeah.
go, not in the middle of sentences or like it was always like at the end of a scene. I was like, wow, okay,
Okay.
all
Yeah.
right,
They put some thought into this.
yeah. For some reason, for Memories,
The
for this
only thing on the
obscure
platform.
'90s anime, which that was another thing is I'm assuming you guys watched this on Tubi too,
Yeah.
Yeah, that's how I watched it.
and it had like I feel like there's got to be some uh like restored like version or like a cleaner version of this like on DVD or Blu-ray, but like this looked like it was like ripped from like a VHS tape, and I
Yeah.
kind of liked it.
Yeah,
It like
I do like that aesthetic.
Yeah.
it,
I'm not sure like how to phrase it better than if it looks too clean or too high def, it wouldn't work as well in this instance.
yeah,
Yeah, I think the whole like analog look to it
yeah,
helps out, and I think like I don't know because that's one of my favorite like genres of horror on YouTube is like analog horror,
mm-hmm.
like stuff with like VHS tapes and scan lines and all that kind of shit. Like the more like low grade that it looks, the creepier and unsettling it is.
I think we talked about that probably last October something, but
Probably.
that's exactly what I was thinking of was that analog horror look. It's like hazy, like when they're in space, there's like like a white like fog over everything. I'm like, I know that's from that VHS tape. That's not supposed to look like that, but yeah, it's added to for the horror aspect at least.
Yeah.
Yeah, worked really well.
I do want to go back to talking about Heinz, and like
Mhm.
his love of his daughter and how that's like his greatest strength and his like greatest weakness. Because
Mhm.
there's that dinner scene at the table, and like he's like so enjoying spending his time with his daughter, and then it's only when he looks up and realizes it's Eva and not his wife that he reacts to it. And even when he's
Mhm.
blowing apart the set and the daughter is just like this robot-looking replica, he shoots everything but her.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah, I got that.
Mhm.
He still can't bring himself to do it.
Mm.
Yeah, even though she is, yeah, they don't you like
Yeah, there's no
she doesn't
features
look
anymore.
like
It's
him
just like
anymore.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
just like this weird like veiny robot-looking thing.
Yeah.
Right.
Which the design of those so good because they like it's clearly like not human, but there's already like, it does feel like a life to it, especially because you see like tendrils reaching out to him and his gun.
Mhm.
Right. Yeah, it was like in his like boots and legs. Like if
Hmm.
he had stayed in that moment any longer, he would have just become another, you know, not a robot, but he would have been like stuck in that scenario with them,
Part of the ship,
part of the
Yeah.
ship. Yeah.
like the Flying Dutchman. um yeah, so like the AI is like it has the little like I guess more humanoid like robots because it's like the part where he like shoots her and you can see it kind of like de-syncing with like the
Yeah,
hologram that
it's
she's
like the hologram
projecting.
overlay is disappearing.
But then like also the entire ship is part of the AI like
I,
robot
I think
thing
it's just like
too.
it has enough control over stuff is meant to be the thing.
Okay.
Like it's kind of absorbed her personality at the very least.
Mhm.
And so now
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
she is the ship and she lives on eternal, and so does Carlo in her memories because that's something she says herself. It's like Carlo will always live on in here and his heart will never change,
Yeah.
which is then heavily implied he was going to leave her and she killed him. But
Mhm.
here in her memories he still loves her,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and Miguel
Yeah.
is
It's
willing to go
almost
along with it.
Yeah.
yeah. It's almost like the ship knows how to like. I guess less so with Miguel because I feel like he's the least fleshed out character of the three because his whole thing is just
Womanizer.
I want to have sex with ladies.
Yeah.
But it seems like especially in the case of Ava and Heinz,
Heinz.
um, it's almost like it captures them right at like the peak or like the most important memory of their life. Because with her, it was like right up until Carlo was gonna leave her, and then for him, it's like right up until his daughter died. And
Yeah.
it's like it knows how to keep you trapped in just leading up to that point.
Yeah.
And I do love the scene where like he's holding the doll that was his daughter when he kind of rejects being a part of the memories. And like that light goes from her and it goes to like the main computer. And then like
Mm-hmm.
the Eva basically stands back up and like there's this huge crescendo as she's like floating in the air and like
Mm-hmm.
she's singing louder, the music's getting louder and like the appearance of the grandeur is just spreading out from her.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like they're applauding her even as like the ship is falling apart.
Yeah.
Or like yeah has a like a hole punch to it by the analyzer cannon, and yeah, it's just so incredible.
Yeah. Yeah. I think yeah at that point she's like I don't gotta worry about this now this guy's gone I know the ship's gonna be
Yeah,
okay.
because I think it's also it's shown. I'm not sure it's shown fully, but I think it's also meant to show that it does destroy the Corona because it looks like it's being just ripped apart.
Yeah.
Oh
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Yeah.
you feel bad for the two guys on the ship that are like, I don't know what's going on.
I wonder like what why uh like what is it just to be like oh man that sucks but like why do you think they showed that Heinz was still alive at the end? Is that like maybe the little bit of hope so it's not completely bleak, but still it's like he's drifting in space? So I don't
I
know
don't
how happy that is.
I don't know. Like
Yeah.
maybe there's a bit of hope because they know they were responding to an SOS, so there's a chance something else will come looking if they don't turn in.
or maybe it'll be like the cyclical how you get in a lot of horror movies where like oh now these some people are gonna come rescue him and then they're gonna be like hey let's check out this ship right here. He's gonna be
Oh,
like
that could
oh
be like maybe like the previous thing going missing is the lure for the next thing going missing.
yeah something like that maybe.
Or maybe they find Heinz and they're like, Did you kill your friends? We're
Yeah.
gonna go on a descent
Yeah.
to this place.
Descent to the Magnetic Rose.
Yes.
I guess that's a tie-in. I didn't realize it's both like journey through the character's mind as much as it is an actual story for both films I picked.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
I'm st-
I
You
mean,
gotta-
I
you
definitely
gotta-
did that on purpose.
You got a thing for this, Chris? First it's the forest, then it's the descent, then it's this. Are you getting off to this? Is there something else? Is there a descent that you need to take to figure out?
Although, like watching The Descent did make me want to reinstall the forest again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it comes with it being a short film, but I kind of feel like we already covered Magnetic Rose for the most part.
Yeah, I mean, can't recommend it enough. You got 45 minutes, go watch it. It's free on Tubi.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a cool little like spaceship science fiction horror film.
Mm-hmm. And then if you got a little bit more time, watch the rest of it too. 'Cause they're all pretty good. I don't know. I've always thought Stink Bomb was my favorite. Stink Bomb still might be my favorite, but it's really close with Magnetic Rose. They're both super strong. Cannon Fodder is still a good watch. It's just not as much. I
Yeah.
appreciate the message that Cannon Fodder is going for. And it's cool that it's animated to be like one long shot in a way. But it's like too thin on plot. And I get that, it's all metaphor. But it's a little thin on plot, and
Yeah,
I think that's what
especially-
keeps me from really
I really did
liking
like
it.
the art style of it. And it's like,
Mhm.
it becomes clear it's just like the mixture of propaganda from the countries in World War II. Like one
Mhm.
thing I noticed is every S is the SS logo. And I was like, wait, what the fuck?
Oh.
And then I was seeing like the V for Victory posters, and then like a lot of like Soviet looking like Victory Through Labor stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And
It's
even
just-
like the way the characters are animated, they almost look like they have like super thick outlines, and then like the weird like cross-hatchy shading on them. It almost makes them look like they are figures on like a propaganda poster
Yeah.
or something like that. And yeah, it's cool. It's just a little thin for me to like
Yeah,
love it.
Again,
like
it
I do
definitely
the
should
other
have been in
ones.
the middle.
Yeah,
Stink-
100%.
Like
That
Stink
makes
Bomb,
sense.
like Magnetic Rose is great horror. Stink Bomb is like a zany disaster movie.
Yeah. Yeah. Did you know that Stink Bomb is based on a true story too? A less
I-
extreme, but
I did not.
yeah. So there was this chick. So I guess Nick, the concept of Stink Bomb is that there's this guy who has a flu, and he works at this pharmaceutical lab, and he takes one of their experimental pills because his friend's like, oh yeah, you should take that one, it's supposed to help. But then he takes the wrong one, and it turns him into like a biohazard, and he starts he basically causes an apocalypse by the
Yeah,
end of
but-
it.
Here's the thing, I'm not sure if they were just trying to tone it down for the rating or if just a translation thing. They always say unconscious, but it's like, oh, those people are dead.
I noticed that too, but yeah, they're dead. I mean, there's also people who like get in car accidents and like explode and stuff like that. But yeah, it's based on, there's this chick who went to, it was in California, and nobody died from her, but she like, it was like a dozen or so people who were like in close proximity with her like got sick, and like one or two of them was even in like the ICU after her and apparently she emanated this like terrible stench, and like they think that was part of it. And yeah, so he kind of took that and took it to the extreme. Took that story, turned up to the extreme. I think I'll send it to you if I find it after, but yeah, she's known as like the toxic woman or whatever. So yeah, it's a interesting tidbit. But yeah, all good. It's like Katsuhiro Otomo's Black Mirror.
That's a good way to put it. I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, Magnetic Rose easily could have been like a Black Mirror episode. I could see something like that.
Yeah.
I think it'd be a lot harder for this to work as a non-anime.
Oh well, yeah, and
Yeah.
animated, yeah. I don't know. It'd have to be
expertly done.
with
Yeah.
um yeah. But that's why it is an anime. Like animation is animated for a reason, I guess. Just like, can't really. I mean, they have done that. They have adapted like Kiki's Delivery Service into live action. I haven't seen it, but I'm like, I don't need to. I know that's not gonna be the same.
Yeah, didn't they recently do that with one?
Another
was
one.
it Akira?
No,
I hope not.
they've been trying to make a live action Akira for like 20 years. Like I remember
there was a recently like a big one that I feel like got a Netflix show, and it was like people were like shitting on it.
You're right.
Yeah, and it got canceled like pretty much right away because everyone's just like, this is
Wait,
horrible.
are we talking about Cowboy Bebop? Because there
I
was
think-
that.
I think that's
Maybe.
it.
I feel like there is another one that
I
like
thought it was a different one.
they are making. There's one that's coming out. Oh, they're doing The Last Airbender. They're doing a TV show. I'm not interested in it. I love The Last Airbender. I'm not interested. And they're like, we got like an ethnically appropriate cast, and it's like, that's not what I'm worried about though.
I'm worried about it's all gonna look like dog shit.
Yeah.
Oh, also, were we gonna do scores for Magnetic Rose?
Yeah, I want to do
Yeah,
scores
yeah.
for sure. Do you want to lead it off again?
Well, I wasn't sure if we did that before we got into like post stuff or when the order was.
Yeah, no, we'll do that, and then we'll just kind of move into. We won't do another break, but we'll just move into post.
Yeah.
I guess we could do both. I guess I'm just curious what you think, but I'll probably just log, since Magnetic Rose is the only one that we all watched. That's what I'm gonna log on like the official letterbox. But I'm interested, I guess, what you think of the whole thing.
Because like it's October and I'm in a real horror kick. Magnetic Rose is obviously the star of the anthology. I'll give it a 9. I love everything about it. For the most part, Miguel is kind of one-dimensional, and the other two members of the crew almost seem like they don't even need to be there. But when it gets to inside the actual ship and the story starts progressing, phenomenal. Like the look of it, the pacing, like the actual story itself.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm at an 8. Very, very. It's very good. The storytelling I thought was fantastic. The way that it, kind of fed you details about the characters' lives and motivations without kind of beating you over the head with it, and it allowed you to pick up on little things. Even I didn't even pick up on it when I watched it, like the little doll crackling, and then him not being able to like save his daughter from the fall is like good subtle foreshadowing or subtle storytelling that on repeat viewings you're like, oh shit, okay, they kind of did it. They kind of did these little things to kind of give you clues about it, and I really like stuff that doesn't treat the audience like idiots. And I think this was because I feel like I'm not a huge anime guy, and I feel like anime kind of has like a reputation of being over the top and silly and cartoony, and I mean, I know it's animated, but I think this was like a very well grounded story that was very affecting. So it's an 8 for me, dog.
Nice. So we did like this is almost exactly like how we did the Descent, because I'm exactly in the middle of you guys. I did 8.5 for Magnetic Rose. Yeah, everything you guys just said. It's really great, tight story, a good sci-fi horror. Those are hard to get. And yeah, the visuals are just insane. So many cool shots, so many interesting ideas with like depicting the hallucinations or the holograms or what have you. And yeah, just a really solid thing. And then go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. I was saying, I think it really works better as a short story. If they made it into like any sort of feature-length movie, they would just have to pad it with so much filler. It wouldn't be nearly as engaging.
For all of these, right? Like,
yeah.
Stink Bomb wouldn't work as a feature.
Cannon
Fodder
Stink Bomb could work as a
shorter.
feature, but you'd have to lean way more into the zany comedy aspect.
Okay. I mean, I wouldn't be opposed to seeing it, but yeah, they'd have to like change it up. I think they'd have to. add something to it. But I was just gonna add that I'd probably give Stink Bomb about the same, roughly around an 8.5. Cannon Fodder about a 7, probably. So like I don't know, the whole package, Memories as a whole, probably comes to about a 8. About I don't know,
That
somewhere in there.
that's
You know.
yeah. As you're saying the whole package, I was like, oh, that's an 8 for me. So
Yeah.
yeah, for us, we're dead on with that.
Yeah.
Nick, you haven't seen the other two. What's your blind score of all three?
Stink Bomb is a cool name, so that one's good. Cannon Fodder leaves me intrigued.
Yeah. It's shorter too.
That was
Stink-
like 20 minutes.
Yeah. Stink Bomb's like the same length as Magnetic Rose, and then yeah.
Oh, okay.
That's the other reason why like Cannon Fodder would have worked as a bridge, because it's like it's shorter. It's like it is really weird the order.
Yeah.
But okay, cool. There's Memories and The Descent. The Memory of The Descent. I don't know. We still got more show, but thanks for bringing those in, Chris. I enjoyed knocking The Descent off of my watch list and revisiting and appreciating Memories way more than I had in my memories.
Well, thank you for having me on. I love the opportunity to come and talk about like horror stuff, especially because I really dig it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can I give more horror movie recommendations before we completely close out, or is that like a post chat thing?
Uh, just to
Just in
Yeah, okay.
general, obviously not to squeeze in October if your last one is the last one for the month. But just to
Oh,
watch
you
in
mean
general.
like for Oh, you're just saying like
Like
just
f- like
recommendations,
for-
just
yeah, just straight up
Yeah.
recommendations to watch on your own time.
yeah. So that we're I don't know if we're gonna. No, we're not doing. Are we back? Because we're not having a break here in the episode. So.
Correct.
So yeah, go ahead. Yeah, just
go for it.
There's The Tunnel, which is it's either Australian or New Zealand, but it's free
Again
on
with this descent thing. What?
Dead House. It's on a site called deadhouse.tv, but it's like it's in an urban environment. Like it's not like a tunnel in nature. It's like an old subway system or below a subway system or something.
Oh,
Like
okay.
it's all man-made stuff that's built. And
I remember
then
that one.
Lake Mungo. I think I've mentioned it to you guys before.
I've heard.
I
that
have
one
seen that
before.
one. Yep.
Especially because that one, it's shot like a documentary, and it does that so well you forget it's going to be a horror movie up until certain parts.
Yeah, it does really feel like a documentary. Yeah.
Oh, have you seen it, TJ?
I watched it like last year or something,
Oh, okay.
maybe a year before. Yeah, it was it's one I need to watch again for sure. I feel like but it was interesting for sure, just the whole like the format and
Yeah, and it's another
and
one I
everything.
like. It's like you have a very small list of cast, and they're all like distinct people,
yeah.
and they do feel like people in that, especially given the circumstances of it.
Yeah. Is that one also? You might have said that. Is that one also Australian?
It is Australian. I just looked it up.
Yeah,
That's it.
yeah. And that one I think is on Amazon, but again, The Tunnel you can watch for free.
Nice.
Nice. I don't know if I don't know. We might cut this. I don't know if you wanted to talk about it too much in the post chat, unless Chris, you've seen it. But have you seen Barbarian yet?
I have not. I really want to, and on a different day I might have been able to join you guys, but I just can't get over the fact it's like from the minds of one of the guys from The Whitest Kids You Know.
Yeah. It's
Like
It
when
was-
I
it
first
was
saw that, and I
fucking
was like, is this some sort of joke I'm missing? Then looking up, it's like, oh no, it actually is him. What the fuck?
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, he has a little director cameo in it too.
Yeah, it's definitely on my want to see list.
Yeah, it's fucking great. It was awesome, I thought.
We went to go see it. It was just my brother TJ and I in the theater. Like no one else was in there.
Yeah.
Which from some of the letterboxd reviews that I saw, some people were like, this movie rocks if you see it in a theater with other people like reacting to shit as it happens, because there's definitely some shit to react to.
Yeah. There's some wild shit. There is like comedic bits in it. It is
Yeah.
a horror movie for sure, but there's some parts that are like definitely supposed to be funny and like do work with like the comedy bits. Yeah, and it would have been fun to have other people there, but I also like
Yeah,
being the
it
only
was.
people in a movie theater is also cool.
Yeah, it was fun
Um,
for sure.
but yeah, I don't want to like give away too much about it because it is a good one to go into like pretty blind because it takes some wild turns.
It sure does.
And also just like a really interesting structure to the movie as a whole too.
Mm-hmm.
Like the like the acts, three. Yeah, it's still a 3-act structure, but it's very it's just interesting and pretty fucking creepy too. There's a lot of that like the lingering sort of like what we were talking about before the episode, like those sort of like long shots of dark hallways that just kind of sit with you and you're just waiting for something to come out.
Uh-huh.
Sometimes it doesn't, sometimes it does, kind of thing.
Yeah, this could be a Trevor Henderson movie.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think he has talked about loving it and that people who want to go see it should go in blind.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. That's another I gave that one an 8 on Letterboxd too. So, well, a 4-star, but I just refer to them by the 1 out of 10.
The 10 scale.
Yeah. Even though it is at a 5 on there.
I just Googled Trevor Henderson, and it said, people also ask, is Trevor Henderson a real person?
As a matter of fact, he is.
That sounds like it. I had the Mario trailer on it, but I don't have anything to add to that. It is what it is. Oh shit! I pulled my
Yeah. I will say it looks really good, and how could you not love Jack Black? But they could have shelled out the money to get I can't think of his last name. Charles, the guy who actually voices
Charles
these
Martinet.
characters. Yes.
Yeah.
They could have so easily got him. You know, you could have got the voice of Mario to be the voice of Mario. It's an animated movie. You had
The guy
you
who's
had
been
it.
doing it for 20 years.
Why not? Yeah.
I know. Keep Jack Black as Bowser, obviously.
They
Isn't
could have
Charlie
Doug
Day
Bowser
Luigi?
play Bowser.
Doug
that'd be
Bowser.
I am.
I mean, they could have
looking
had
forward
Reggie Fils-Aimé do the mocap for Bowser.
to-
His body is ready.
That'd be awesome. Yeah, and I wanted to give Chris Pratt the benefit of the doubt, but like he is not trying.
Someone compared it to the Pinocchio trailer
The one
that
with
came out,
Pauly Shore.
where he's like, I can't wait to go out and be a real boy.
Yeah.
Or what, you know.
I know the one you're talking about. I really want
Yeah.
to see that movie. Yeah. Yeah.
Starring the American Song Kang-ho.
Yeah. No, that's a different one.
That's,
There's
Sorry,
2
I'm-
Pinocchio movies this
oh,
year.
Jesus
Wait,
Christ.
Yeah.
what? Oh wait, aren't they also making a horror Winnie the Pooh movie?
Yeah.
What?
Oh, I'm sorry. There's a 3rd Pinocchio because Guillermo
Kill
del
me
Toro is
now.
doing one too. Yeah.
Man, I
Or
love
he's
that it's like
producing or something.
you can tell that all of these intellectual properties went into public domain because there's like just 6 of them coming out now.
Yeah.
Maybe one of them be good.
Yeah. Maybe.
Statistically speaking, yeah, you'd think one of them would have to be good.
Yeah.
I'm still a fan of, and by that I mean I saw it when I was a kid. What was it, Geppetto? Was that one with like Drew Carey?
I have
What?
no idea what you're talking about.
There was a Drew Carey Pinocchio movie. I think it was like a made-for-TV movie on like ABC Family. I think it was called Geppetto.
Holy shit. Holy shit. And he's playing Geppetto. That's
Yeah, dude.
Awesome.
It's called Whose Lie Is It Anyway, and you have to figure out whose nose is gonna grow when they say.
Oh, that's good.
He's got he looks like fucking Peter Griffin. With those
Yeah.
glasses on. Holy shit.
Well, he had that look before Peter.
Yeah,
Oh.
sure. Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah, the one I associate the most with is the JTT one from like the mid 90s, which had some pretty freaky visual. Jonathan Taylor Thomas.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
I was like, Justin Timberlake 2?
And who's it? Martin Landau is Geppetto.
Oh, Julia Louis-Dreyfus is the Blue Fairy. What the hell?
In the
I
in the
forgot
Drew
she was in
Carey
this.
one,
Yeah.
she should be playing the Drew Carey instead of the Blue Fairy. That's the joke.
Well, much like his nose, it's a stretch.
Hell yeah.
Okay. Anyways, we're starting to
We're circling.
meander again. So next week's episode is it's episode 69.
Nice.
This is the hardest decision we've ever had to make.
It was. We've been mulling this. I really feel like this is maybe what we have like spent the most time like regarding the show like thinking about is what movie to do for episode 69. And the one that we went with was last minute because we decided it like an hour ago. Yeah, we're trying to, because it's the end of October, so it's a dud, and it's got to be a horror movie, and it's episode 69, so it's got to be something sexy. So I don't know if it hits all the buttons the most, but I think it hits them all, and I think it'll be more fun than the other options. So and it's been a while since we've had a fun dud. So from 1989, directed by Robert Bierman, we're gonna do Vampire's Kiss. It's another Cage flick. So
I think is that 3 duds, 3 Cage duds. We got Ghost Rider.
Ghost Rider was much like Ghost Rider himself, was raised from the depths and was brought to the regular movie list, but it was pulled as a dud. Yes.
Okay.
So 2.5, I guess.
Okay. 2.5 Cages. Okay, because we've had Nicolas Cage on a few times now. I feel like.
Yeah, and I have seen this one before, so it's been a while. I definitely have a more positive memory of it than Deadfall, so I'm hopeful that it'll be a good fun dud. So yeah, there's I don't think you get to see any Cage dick, but there's some sexy stuff in it. So yeah. So yeah, watch Vampire's Kiss before next week's episode. If you don't want to be spoiled. I always think it's funny to say that for the dud movies, but yeah, it is for this is a bit tougher to get. It is for rent on Apple TV and Vudu, or you can buy it on YouTube or Google Play. So it's not one that's kind of on everything like most of them. So a little harder to find. But yeah, so watch it. Either way, watch it because it's fun. And these episodes come out every Wednesday at 7 p.m. EST on Twitch and YouTube in video form, as well as Spotify and Apple Podcasts in podcast form. We also have socials on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok, and that's about it. We got 2 movies. This is always weird to do for this. I am... Oh, here we go. Got one for both. I am your daughter that died tragically that you keep seeing every day. Boom. Got them both.
Oh, shit. Another connection. Damn.
There, see if we can go 3 for 3. Come on.
Oh.
Ellen with me as always.
As always. See, I had one in mind, but it only covers one. Damn.
Just go with it.
I am your rose. I am your rose. I am your rose. Nick, aka Dr. Funk on Twitch, and with me as always.
Well, with you is once.
All right.
Yeah, it's cool.
I am your introspection into your own mind, Chris.
All right. All right. Okay. All right. Bye.
I'm
for
your
having me.
dad.
Yeah, right. Thanks again. We kind of covered that before, but
Yeah.
thanks. Bye.